Lesson 14. Success. What a magic word. How appealing to everyone. In its syllables are caught the hopes, dreams and ambitions of all the world. To attain it means to overcome obstacles. To possess it means mastery, power. It is the focus of every constructive activity, the single goal toward which all the many devious paths of human endeavor tend. That is why those who have achieved success become leaders whom the crowd is willing to follow, because they are foremost on the road to that man destination of all. Yet success is not only a human goal. It is the natural aim also of everything in this universe, the one ultimate purpose to which all life aspires. In each of nature's infinite variety of living things are bred certain distinctive characteristics which, brought to fruition, represent success to that particular unit in the cosmic scheme. To an apple seed it is the tree laden with apples, to a kernel of corn it is the well-filled ear, to the acorn it is an oak. Each enfolds an unborn destiny, but between it and the realization of all those verdant possibilities within stretches a long, hard road of struggle and achievement, a road sown with difficulties, pitted with failures and whitened with the bones of those who have fallen by the wayside and yielded themselves supinely to the bitter death of despair. For instance, consider a seed thrown into the ground in the early spring. Entombed far from air, sunlight and moisture, helpless behind the confining walls of its shell, a tiny champion locked in a stubborn dungeon of its own, it can only wait. Within it broods a dream, tall stalk nodding under a golden burden of grain, green tresses fluttering in the breeze, strength, honor, achievement, but from the dream knocking about in the dull brown pellet to its realization in actual fact is a long, far cry. Will the untried knight be able to accomplish that quest? The opportunity is soon given it to try. Moisture, seeping down, breaks with its touch the prison walls. Upwards and downwards leap two tender shoots, seeking the fresh air and sunlight above and the moisture below. The silent battle has been joined, success or failure hanging on the points of those two slender lances carrying forward the cause of the seed. The first foe to be vanquished is the earth. Every grain of sand is a barrier to be pushed aside, every pebble a fortress to be won. The fragile weapons on which the seeds have to rely are so delicate that a touch is often sufficient to break them, yet they must cope with a crushing mass of soil and stone. However, the seed does not despair, but bores valiantly onward, conquering obstacles one by one, progressing a step at a time, until eventually it thrusts its victorious crest through the final crust into a new world of freedom, sunlight and fresh air. Then it has gained its first visible success, because as long as it labored underground there was no way of marking its progress in the right direction. It has broken its way into an entirely different environment, far richer in honors to be won but also far more ominous with perils to be met and overcome. The beguiling air of freedom and prosperity which now caresses the young plant, and the warm sunlight glancing like a guerdon of victory from its upright blade, dissemble unimagined treachery and menace. At any moment the trailing fingers of the wind can grip with a blast of fury to rend and destroy, or the sunbeam glitter with white fire to sear, wither and consume. Then the hard-pressed warrior must be able to call on its roots to anchor it securely against the frenzy of the storm and to send it moisture with which to ward off the flame-edged sword of the sun. If the seed has fought as good a battle in one direction as in the other, establishing itself on a firm footing and tapping a constant supply of water, it will survive and flourish. If not, it will go down in defeat and find all its efforts wasted. Assuming that it has done its duty well, the plant, through adversity, becomes tough, pliant and wise in the ways of a harsh and reckless world. Persistence and energy carry it onward to the fulfillment of its destiny, so that it ripens in the autumn of its life to the realization of those treasures which are both the reward of its endeavors and the measure of its success. It stands strong and masterful, bidding defiance to wind and sun, tossing aloft its golden prize of grain, flaunting its victory in the face of the world. The dream is fact, the quest achieved, the goal won. Yet even that is not the end. The plant will soon die, but success can never die. Through each of that numerous progeny of the original seed it will go on and on, increasing from generation to generation, because to each has been transmitted the same dream of conquest, the same power to overcome and to multiply. Therefore, while individuals are the vehicles of success, rising and vanishing under it in an advancing tide, success itself is above and beyond the limitations which make its possession as brief as life itself. Just as it is with plants, so it is with human beings. You also are born with your peculiar dream, your own purpose, and the power to overcome every obstacle that stands in the way of its realization. Success is an integral part of your nature, the stuff of which you are made, only, like the seed, it is hedged about and buried deep under the sodden weight of outside barriers as well as inner handicaps. Yet with you, too, every adverse circumstance of environment or nature is after all only a foil for the development of the qualities within you. From each challenge accepted, each battle won, you rise stronger, readier for the next. No matter how difficult a step may be, it lifts you one pace nearer to the coveted goal. Every constructive effort in thought, word or deed brings you so much further out of the darkness and limitations of your present surroundings into the free, open air of sunshine and prosperity, into the broad domain of power and success. Many people fail because they are prone to mistake their initial success for license to do as they please. Freedom is not license. New conditions, different surroundings, while they give a much wider scope of action, also impose corresponding responsibilities. Those who disregard these responsibilities and undertake to abuse their liberty are in somewhat the same position as the plant which has neglected to root itself firmly in the soil. The very freedom they have won tears them loose and whirls them to ruin, breaking their contact with the saving current of life energy and exposing them to the scorching rays of a prosperity which they can no longer control. To enjoy lasting victory you must remember to stay firmly rooted in the ground of fact, drawing from there the creative energy that thrives above. Then you will have a poise that nothing can upset or withstand. Nature is a marvelous book for those who know how to read it, a book which, opened on the page of success, will teach you an object lesson more illuminating than all the words ever penned. The process of achieving success is therefore similar throughout all nature, although the details of the struggle vary. In every path there are obstacles to challenge the development of those qualities whose full and harmonious unfoldment lifts one to the desired goal. The obstacles may differ in kind, depending on the environment and the forces that strive for expression, but all serve the same end. This disposition of affairs is the result of certain definite natural laws, changeless, unresting and omnipresent, discernible through as many aspects as there are lives to command them, and proceeding impersonally in the task of weeding out the weak and unfit. The first of these laws, the law of polarity, is one which works continually throughout the whole universe. Everything in nature has two poles, a positive and a negative one. Night follows day, cold stands as the opposite of heat, shadow balances light. No contradicts yes. In every department of existence a positive factor implies a corresponding negative one, like a seesaw which goes as far down at one end as it goes up at the other. You have probably noticed the peculiar working of this law of polarity in your own life. You have been uncomfortably aware that whenever you make a positive statement, immediately there seems to arise from some unseen and mysterious depths the silent opposition no, which very frequently outweighs your positive intention and takes its place. Perhaps you have tried to dismiss the feeling on the ground that it is merely a superstition unworthy of a person of your intelligence and education, but if so you did your own observation an injustice. What you noticed was not any weird black magic at all, but was simply the very logical operation of a law of nature which you happened to put into action. The expression of this same law through other individuals does not at all appear to you as superstition, in them you heartily condemn it as perversity. You tell a person to do something, and thereby you seem to stir up in him an invincible resolve not to do it, or even to do exactly the opposite. Mules and goats illustrate the same traits most admirably. A child, when told not to do a certain thing, is at once consumed with a burning ambition to go and do it. Among ladies secrets are notoriously hard to keep, because the solemn injunction don't tell seems absolutely to drive it through their lips like a charge of explosive. Further still, you have doubtless remarked that whenever you will pursue a definite course of action, every conceivable obstacle arises to block your path, while at other times an equally firm pledge not to proceed in a particular way is followed by a change of circumstances that practically herds you into it. An evil force seems to compel you into the course in which you especially did not want to go, and to thwart and rebuff you in every direction. An evil force? No, simply the law of polarity or opposition getting in its work. Ignorance of this law has always been a teeming source of superstitions, from the most benighted savage to the highest civilized society. Typical of these is the singular aversion to black cats, a rather reasonable distrust of ladders, a divining significance in the set of a pin and the efficacy of wood as a demagnetizing agent for evil influences. Why do people dislike to receive compliments on their success in business, or why do they rap on wood when they inadvertently assert some projected piece of work as a fact to be already taken for granted? Because they have observed that they usually have to pay the price for such compliments in unexpected mistakes, difficulties and delays in the very direction in which it was given. They anticipate the effects of the law of polarity without really knowing what it is. Yet if one understands the law of polarity, one can avoid its negative effects in a rational manner instead of blindly trying to dodge some non-existent evil eye. All that is necessary is to identify oneself definitely with the positive by mentally contacting universal life energy before a statement, and then to protect that statement still more by silently knowing, or realizing within oneself, that with the help of the great law such a thing will, or will not, be done. Either of these two methods alone will give satisfactory results, because both universal life energy and the great law are the pure essence of the positive and as such are superior to all negative, which cannot stand for a moment against the constructive power of the infinite. It is thought by some that all trouble can be avoided by being neutral in your statements, but this is an undesirable method. Neutrality means inertia, which is a condition as barren as death. Why sacrifice the creative power of a definite, positive statement merely to avoid trouble? Rather, cast the weight always in the scale of the positive. Cultivate optimism. Enlist the driving energy of the positive in everything you do, because the more you attune yourself to it, the more you will be able to rise above the law of polarity in your life. When you have learned to rely confidently on the universal power instead of on your own limited human forces, you will find that there is no longer any possible opposition to what you think, state or do. Then you will have overcome the law of polarity so far as our present state of consciousness permits. The second law which sways the destinies of human beings to an exceptional extent is the law of rhythm, which operates in conjunction with the law of polarity and is in fact the same law under another and more momentous aspect. The law of polarity can be likened to the second hand of a watch, ticking off the individual events of your life, while the law of rhythm is the minute hand which sweeps down and up in its majestic circuit, summing up in its progress all the flying fractions measured out by its busy associate. This generous rhythmic swing you may have observed in your own experience and that of your friends. There will be periods of long or shorter duration when everything works out swiftly and harmoniously to a splendid conclusion. Every project is blessed with favoring circumstances which boost it on its way, and whatever you undertake spins serenely up the highway of success. On the other hand, also, there occur periods of depression when anything commenced seems doomed from the very beginning to failure. People attribute these alternations to good or ill luck, but in reality they are due to the law of rhythm, which on its upward trend lifts you to the heights and then drags you down on its return movement. This law is so powerful that human beings appear to be quite helpless before it. It pervades all existence, manifesting itself on the largest scale just as irresistibly as it does on the smaller one. The entire progress of evolution is charted by its ebb and flow no less than is the life of the individual. Nations, races and peoples are strung on it like so many beads on a wire, so that with its ascending movement empires are built, countries arise, dominance shines through a people, while with its downward swing glory fades and empires crash to ruin. But although the operation of this law on the larger scale through the human race is really beyond any control, it nevertheless can and must be overcome in the individual if success is to be achieved. Successful people are those who, through energy and optimism, were able to master it unconsciously, at least in its negative aspect. Yet few people possess by nature the unusual strength of character and positiveness necessary to assert that mastery, and as a result the majority of humankind never see their aspirations realized in their lives. However, one recourse is available to everyone whereby to win free from the destructive influence of the law of rhythm. An intelligent and persistent use of universal life energy is an antidote as invincible in this case as in all other negative conditions. It stimulates your inner qualities, giving you the perception to recognize the upward trend of the law, and the strength and confidence to take decisive advantage of it. Then you know how to fling yourself heart and soul into every opening, and how to rise to the highest possible goal on the forward surge of the wave. You are equally quick to perceive the subsidence of that wave of success, and are able to consolidate your gains before it falls from under you. This understanding, together with the supporting power of universal life energy, renders you immune to both discouragement and failure. The problem faced by the individual is most vividly and accurately portrayed in that faced by a swimmer in treacherous waters. The waves on the ocean are the result of the law of rhythm operating on the physical plane precisely in the same manner as it operates in your life. Above is the upward and forward surge of the wave, concealing a strong movement beneath it. This reserve movement is called the undertow. It is energy which, passing below the surface of the water, lifts it to a certain height, much as a chance puff of wind might slip underneath a table covering and lift it along its length. The water itself does not move from place to place, but simply molds in a sliding ripple the wholly unrelated current of energy beneath. Your task is to stay on the crest of that advancing ripple. To ride forward on it means to be carried to greater and greater success, to lose it and drop into the hollow behind means failure. Steadiness of activities, perseverance, optimism and a persistent assertion of the positive through the use of universal life energy are the aids which will enable you to hold your position on top and collect the richest rewards from its forward and constructive movement. The secret of permanent success is in knowing when to stop. Many people whose activities are of a spasmodic nature wonder why they seem only to hit the high spots and never stay there. They are always poised on the peak of success or wallowing in the abyss of failure, swinging back and forth between the two and striking a very mean average. The reason is that while they had the energy and daring to take advantage of the upward trend of the law of rhythm, they did not know how to anticipate its downward sweep. They forged vigorously ahead with new projects and expansion when they ought to have devoted their talents to consolidating what they had gained. In consequence they were left hanging in midair, struggling vainly against the crash which was bound to come. An intelligent adjustment of activities to circumstances is necessary for continued success. One must know when to go ahead and when to hold up, when to push an advantage and when to stop. Those who have made a success of their lives have learned through hard experience to do this, and if they were able to succeed through sheer energy, positiveness and perseverance, without any real knowledge of the law of rhythm with which they had to contend, how much easier it ought to be for you who know the cause of the trouble and how to overcome it. This knowledge of how to accommodate yourself to the laws of polarity and rhythm is a wonderful help in business of any kind. Finance, salesmanship, barter of all sorts, all are victims of these laws of which a proper understanding opens up limitless new fields of action in every direction, because through understanding, the limiting factors of risk and uncertainty will be largely eliminated. To most people a new project is always a step in the dark. Life is like an open grand piano with the wires exposed, and the hopeful novice, striking a key, takes a chance that the right hammer will jump out to strike the note he wants. Sometimes he guesses right, sometimes not. But if he knew the mechanics of the piano he could say with confidence, this key will transmit my blow to that particular wire and sound the note I wish, because the relation would be clear to him. A chart of stock market quotations, real estate, commerce or any industry will trace out in black and white the operation of these laws through them. All are subject to fluctuations that recur periodically, and all are therefore rich in opportunities for those with eyes to see and the energy to take advantage of them. Once armed with a knowledge of those laws you are able to carve a sphere of activities as great as your desires out of your environment. The continual use of universal life energy by the student of science of being will strengthen him to wield that weapon of knowledge to much greater effect. It will sharpen his perception, render all his faculties more acute, and carry to him the pulse of events so truly that he will be able to forecast unerringly conditions presently to be realized in material fact in his own affairs. Thus he will detect the upward trend of the law in time to profit most fully by it, and will anticipate the downward plunge with the needful precautions. Inability to perceive the rhythmic ebb and flow of these laws is the only excuse for the modern complaint that all the good things have been snapped up. All the good things have always been snapped up, yet the human race has clambered on pretty consistently somehow. As a matter of fact, life was never richer in opportunities than it is at present, and those who will absorb and apply what they are given in this lesson will be able to see and grasp them. There will always be those whom repeated failure, brought on because they did not have the acumen to switch their activities at the right time, has taught them to look askance at inviting opportunities, but that timidly vanishes if you know how to pick out your course ahead. One general rule should be observed whenever you intend to invest money. Make the contact with universal life energy first, and when you feel its current flowing through you, try to sense from it the proper course on which to proceed. Bring all the possibilities to the test of that searching force, and ask of it the silent question, must I proceed thus and so, or must I not? If you have properly contacted the universal power, its effect will be to establish in you its own perfect peace and harmony, stimulating and coordinating all your faculties and clearing away discord. Then the faint voice of your intuition, usually drowned out in the harsh clangor of your mental activities, becomes audible to you and warns you of any pitfalls or dangers which beset your path. This guiding voice, tolling you onward as it echoes ahead along the path in which it is right for you to go, is the so-called hunch to which so many of the great owe their success. Those who will marshal all their ambitions and efforts behind their knowledge of the laws of polarity and rhythm, who will assort and adapt their activities to the fluctuations induced by these laws, and who will above all charge their endeavors with universal life energy and point them according to the unerring voice of intuition, will achieve success rivaling their fondest dreams. The third and final one of the three dominant laws affecting human progress is the law of cause and effect. There is prevalent a belief that people are mere puppets of fate, bunted hither and yon without being in the least consulted as to their own desires in the matter. In other words, the individual is supposed to have no free will of his own and no hand in the molding of his future. This is the man-made theory of predestination, which maintains that no matter how much one may strive to succeed in a certain direction, it is effort wasted if his destiny is to fail, and vice versa. This theory arises from ignorance of the law of cause and effect, which in reality opens to mankind the unbounded opportunity to create whatever future may be desired. The law of cause and effect, working with mathematical precision throughout all nature, decrees that for every effect there must be a corresponding cause, and vice versa. Therefore nothing exists in all the universe without a reason, and the apparently meaningless chaos of visible effects are simply the material evidence of most exactly ordered causes, nonetheless operative because they are not seen. There is no such thing as chance, no remotest possibility of a haphazard occurrence without any cause whatever, because everything and every event has its place in the cosmic scheme too perfectly ruled to permit of the least infraction. In spite of this, there are always people who imagine that the world is in a lawless condition, and they can get something for nothing, plant weeds and gather wheat. That is utterly impossible. Like invariably produces like as a direct result, whether it be seeds or actions. If you sow honesty, energy, intelligence and all positive qualities, you will sooner or later reap a corresponding harvest. If you sow negative causes, you will most inevitably reap the thistles of negative effects. Every individual is therefore the author of his own destiny, whether he likes it or not. Through the causes he starts he shapes his future to a corresponding end, good, bad or indifferent. He can do it unconsciously and risk the result, or he can acquire an understanding of how the law works and then take advantage of it intelligently and purposefully. That is, he can obtain a destiny by accident or by design. The most welcome advantage of the destiny by design is perhaps the greater ease with which it is acquired. Knowledge of the law of cause and effect strikes off the shackles of worry and fear, leaving you to direct all that wasted energy into constructive channels. You know that whatever cause you have started will culminate in its own unchangeable effect, no matter what you may do to prevent it. Therefore, if the cause was the right one, you have no excuse to think further about it, while if it was a wrong one, you cannot worry it a single degree out of its appointed course. All you can do is to take it into your calculations for the future. Therefore abandon worry, which can only disintegrate your own faculties by draining away your energies, weakening you in every direction and making you an easier prey to the very negative you dread. Devote yourself to starting new right causes now, to neutralize the evil present effects of wrong causes out of the past. The sooner you do so, the sooner you will change your life from an unhappy, burdensome routine, full of disease, failure and trouble of every kind, into the healthy, buoyant, happy pilgrimage, full of strength and constructive activities, sparkling with interest, vibrant with power, that you actually desire it to be. Impatience to realize immediately the happiness to which you aspire will not hasten its coming. Remember, the law of cause and effect cannot be skipped over or evaded. The negative causes of other times must come to fruition before the positive ones of today. You can clear a muddy stream by introducing clean water at its source, but the old corruption must run its course before its place can be taken by the clear current. Very often, especially with people in whose lives the negative has been overwhelmingly present, a right action seems to bring down on the head of the individual a very unpleasant result instead of the expected positive one. It appears to be like a punishment for a right action, and it may occur a number of times, all the more forcefully if universal life energy has been used in performing the right action. The reason for this seeming contradiction is that around an individual whose life has been full of sorrow and trouble hangs a dense cloud of that negative, enveloping him completely. A right cause discharged into that cloud, reinforced by universal life energy, causes a sudden precipitation of the evil there. Such precipitation would have come anyway, but not in such abundance, so that abrupt rain, while very unpleasant, is nevertheless a good sign. It indicates that the negative fog is being rapidly dispersed, breaking away to let in all the sooner the bright sunshine of positive effects from positive causes that have been sent out. Therefore, while the use of universal life energy intensifies for a time negative conditions, it also greatly shortens their duration. If you are going through such an experience, do not despair, but be cheered by the realization that the law is visibly working in this manner to change your destiny for the better. When you alter your own outlook in this manner, banishing the darkness of pessimism in the bright light of optimism, you have taken a great step toward the happiness and success you seek. Like attracts like, and the inviting warmth of that constructive attitude in you will draw into your life the lustrous reward to which you aspire. Then failure, that bad memory of the past, will melt away like a shadow before the dawning reality of present success. Enmity will crumble before you, indifference crystallize into respect, and even hatred will be transmuted at length into friendliness and love. Exercises. The performance morning and evening of the star exercise, relaxation, silence and concentration together with the continual use of the mental contact with universal life energy at all times, are the usual necessary preliminaries to the new exercise designed for this week, and which is called realization. The purpose of realization is to breed a wealth of new ideas in any specific line of thinking and thus furnish you with ample material to project into constructive fact. For example, you may desire to improve and expand your business, to perceive practical ways of enlarging it and promoting a greater volume of trade. Or you may wish to improve some other department of your life, because in every aspect of human activities there is always room for improvement, accelerated progress and growth, with a corresponding increase in power and returns. As the object of your concentration exercise, therefore, take this week that activity in which you want to uncover new ideas. The ideas are there in your mental ground, but in order to bring them within reach you have to dig for them. The more you concentrate on the subject in mind, and the more effectively you put universal life energy behind that work, then the more you are probing into your mental soil and unearthing the wealth of new ideas lodged there. Writing these ideas down as you discover them will be a wise precaution, as otherwise you are apt to forget them. When you have selected a sufficient number of ideas to form a creditable working basis, they must be submitted to your conscious faculties for examination of their possibilities. Those that survive the critical analysis of your reason will be sound mental metal, constructive and of a great value both to you, and to others. Remember, nothing commands a higher price among humanity than good ideas. They are actual mind treasures which will be accepted at face value everywhere. Your unfailing bank account is in your head if you will only take the trouble to draw on it. A student of the work recently put this to the test with most satisfactory results. Through the method just described, she obtained an idea for a moving picture play, which she wrote out and submitted in a prize contest of thousands. Her idea won the competition, bringing her not only a considerable cash prize, but also a large royalty on the completed picture, which became famous throughout America. Yet this student had never before done any sort of commercial writing, and she had, besides the reward in cash, the unusual experience of seeing her first attempt crowned with the most extraordinary success. Questions and answers to Lesson 14. 1. What is success? Success is the actual realization in the life of the individual of all inborn possibilities. 2. Is it restricted to any special department of life or activities? Success is not restricted to any special departments of life or activities, but is the single aim and purpose of all existence. 3. What purpose is served by the obstacles in the way of its realization? The purpose served by obstacles in the way of its realization is to bring forth and develop by adversity the qualities through which alone the individual can achieve success. 4. What are the two natural laws most intimately related with success or failure? The two natural laws most intimately related with success or failure are, 1. The law of polarity, or opposition, which is that everything in nature has two poles, a positive and a negative one, each the exact antithesis of the other. 2. The law of rhythm, which is the expression under another aspect of the law of polarity, and determines the rhythmic ebb and flow of life and activities throughout all nature. 5. How can the individual perceive and take advantage of these laws? The individual can perceive and take advantage of these laws by the use of universal life energy to stimulate all his faculties and make audible to him the voice of his own intuition. 6. What exceptional advantage does a knowledge of these laws confer in the business and financial world? The exceptional advantage conferred by a knowledge of these laws in the business and financial world is that it enables one to eliminate risk and error by anticipating events, and thus opens to one much wider spheres of activity. 7. What is the law of cause and effect? The law of cause and effect is that in all the world every effect is of necessity the product of a corresponding cause, and every cause has its corresponding effect. 8. Is the theory of predestination correct? The theory of predestination is completely wrong, and arose only through ignorance of the law of cause and effect. 9. Can man build his own destiny? Man is able to build his own destiny through intelligent use of the law of cause and effect. 10. Is there such a thing as blind chance? Blind chance is impossible, as no effect can possibly exist without a corresponding logical cause behind it. 11. How can the negative aspects of all the above three laws be avoided? The negative aspects of all these laws can be overcome by the continual use of universal life energy. 12. What two human qualities are essential to achieve success? Two human qualities for achieving success are optimism and perseverance.